Stacy Aumonier, The Short Stories. Stacy Aumonier, An Introduction. Stacy Aumonier was born in Hampstead Road, near RegentÄs Park in London, on the 31st of March 1877. He came from a family with a strong and sustained tradition in the visual arts, sculptors and painters. On leaving school, it seemed the family tradition would also be his career path. In particular, his early talents were that of a landscape painter. He exhibited paintings at the Royal Academy in the early years of the 20th century. In 1907, he married the international concert pianist Gertrude Peppercorn at West Horsley in Surrey. A year later, Aumonier began a career in a second branch of the arts, at which he enjoyed a short but outstanding success as a stage performer, writing and performing his own sketches. The Observer newspaper commented that the stage lost in him a real and rare genius. He could walk out alone before any audience, from the simplest to the most sophisticated, and make it laugh or cry at will. In 1915, Aumonier published a short story, ôThe FriendsÄ, which was well received and was subsequently voted one of the 15 best stories of 1915 by the Boston magazine Transcript. Despite his age in 1917, at age 40 he was called up for service in World War I. He began as a private in the Army Pay Corps and then transferred as a draughtsman in the Ministry of National Service. By now he had 4 books published, 2 novels and 2 books of short stories, and his occupation is recorded with the Army Medical Board as author. In the mid-1920s, Aumonier received the shattering diagnosis that he had contracted tuberculosis. In the last few years of his life, he would spend long spells in various sanatoria, some better than others. We were going to take out that thing about 1915, yeah. Cool. Shortly before his death, Stacy Aumonier sought treatment in Switzerland, but died of the disease in Clinique La Prairie at Clarens, beside Lake Geneva, on the 21st of December 1928. He was 55.
Where Was Wych Street? By Stacy Aumonier. In the public bar of the Wagtail in Wapping, 4 men and a woman were drinking beer and discussing diseases. It was not a pretty subject, and the company was certainly not a handsome one. It was a dark November evening, and the dingy lighting of the bar seemed but to emphasize the bleak exterior. Drifts of fog and damp from without mingled with the smoke of shag. The sanded floor was kicked into a muddy morass not unlike the surface of the pavement. An old lady down the street had died from pneumonia the previous evening, and the event supplied a fruitful topic of conversation. The things that one could get. Everywhere were germs eager to destroy one. At any minute the symptoms might break out. And so one foregathered in a cheerful spot amidst friends and drank forgetfulness. Prominent in this little group was Baldwin Meadows, a sallow-faced villain with battered features and prominent cheekbones, his face cut and scarred by 100 fights. Ex-seaman, ex-boxer, ex-fish porter, indeed, to everyone's knowledge, ex-everything. No one knew how he lived. By his side lurched an enormous coloured man who went by the name of Harry Jones. Grinning above a tankard sat a pimply-faced young man who was known as the Agent. Silver rings adorned his fingers. He had no other name, and most emphatically no address. But he arranged things for people, and appeared to thrive upon it in a scrambling, fugitive manner. The other 2 people were Mr. and Mrs. Dawes. Mr. Dawes was an entirely negative person, but Mrs. Dawes shone by virtue of a high, whining, insistent voice keyed to within half a note of hysteria. Then, at one point, the conversation suddenly took a peculiar turn. It came about through Mrs. Dawes mentioning that her aunt, who died from eating tinned lobster, used to work in a corset shop in Wych Street. When she said that,
Sample complete. Ready to continue?